Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Benchmarkers Rugby Show. I am one of your co-hosts, Nyasha. And if this is your first time to the show, well, firstly, welcome. And I hope you enjoy it. But secondly, this is a rugby analytics show. Like I said, my name's Nyasha. I'm a data scientist, and I provide a little bit of, I guess, the technical analysis on the rugby, but really more from a stat side and from an AI side. And then, I have my partner in crime, my co-host.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kumbi, and like Nasha said, so I'm also a data scientist. But as usual, more importantly for these videos, I am a rugby enthusiast, right? So while Nyasha brings the numbers to the game, I also want to then bring the context to the rugby. So the idea behind these videos is that, since rugby and since analytics in general is, playing a bigger part in worldwide sports, we can cater to the numbers people and also to the people who love the purists of the game. So, hopefully we can do that with the content that we're bringing to everyone out there.
Yeah. So, before we get started, or rather, as we get started, if you watched the last episode, again, thank you. But Kumbi made a prediction.
It wasn't really a prediction. It was more hoping than anything else. But I was really off there.
Yeah. So he predicted Wales could possibly, beat South Africa. He definitely predicted it to be a fairly tight game. Right.
That was the least tight game on the weekend.
Right. Yeah, man. That was. I mean, obviously for the Springbok fans, what more can you ask for? Well, I mean, I guess there's a bit more you can ask for when you get talking about the conversions, right? Which we'll look into later. But yeah, what are your thoughts on the game?
I mean, first of all, I'm just going to defend myself from the beginning, right? Right. So the thing is, I think it's not because obviously the format that we want to follow for these videos is because we want AI to play a little bit of a bigger part, than the conventional content that the audience is going to get, right? So we want to, do more predictions than anything else, right? So because of that, sometimes we, a lot of times we'll record our content before the teams come out, right? So before they announce, we want to, see what we think is going to happen before we even know what teams come out, right? So I think the prediction, my analysis, came from, I think the assumption was that Wales, it was their last preparation game for the World Cup. The hope was that they would field, a stronger side available. They didn't do that. South Africa, So this is where I was wrong, right? Because I thought, okay, South Africa is going to field the weaker side because they've got the All Blacks, and we're going to talk about the All Blacks versus the Springboks today. But the idea was, the assumption was South Africa was going to field the weaker side, which they did. But a weaker South African side really is not a weak side at all. So, so they had their bomb squad guys starting, Malcolm Marx, so Wales had really no chance there. So I think it was just upfront. Wales played, their forward pack. They just went a match. I think that's basically what it came down to. Their forward pack wasn't a match to what the Springboks provided. So that's basically everything else was basically downhill from there. So I'll listen. I'll take it on the chin. I'll admit that I was wrong, and I'm going to be wrong a few times. By the way, just like this is not going to be a once-off thing. I'm going to be wrong quite a few times. So I think it's good just to get the first big error out the way quite early. So so basically that was the analysis. Very brief analysis from the game.
Okay, and no, I mean, you'll be wrong sometimes. I'll be wrong sometimes, or rather, I mean, right now, I think in the last rounds, almost all our predictions were correct, except for the Argentina game. We didn't get that.
Right, but I think we did add context that it was more Argentina 15. So we knew that there was, they weren't really going to field their World Cup squad anyway. So at least we provided that bit of context for that game.
Yes, exactly. Although now to the main part of the episode and to where the predictions really matter. Right, the big game of the weekend, or at least I guess one of the big games. But this is, I'd say, the biggest game, already sold out. New Zealand versus South Africa.
Right,
Okay.
the big test match, the big rivalry. All Blacks versus
Right.
the Springboks.
Yeah, it's pretty much a World Cup final before a free World Cup final before the actual World Cup starts. Maybe let me not call it a final. Although New Zealand versus South Africa in a final, oh, man, imagine
that could be good. Yeah, that could be really good.
Yeah. Okay. So, like Kumbi said, he provides the enthusiast side of it. I provide the more AI and analytical side of it. So we do run some models where we compare the two sides. We compare how they match up in certain key metrics, certain KPIs. For those that don't know, those are key performance indicators. So the way this works is the model looks at their last games, actually for the last couple of years, but then for this report we just looked at this year, and runs and pretty much compares KPIs, sees what's important between the two teams and what they should focus on. But obviously we're looking at close to 150, and we can't show 150, so we asked the model to just select just a few in each category, and you see it as you go through the report. Starting off on the first page, this is looking at their 2023 games only. Right. So the first page looks at points, tries, conversions, which is something we definitely need to talk about regarding South Africa, penalties, and their form. Right. So just starting off with their form, coming from 3 wins in a row, South Africa, a loss to New Zealand. So this is their chance to redeem themselves, right? And then a win before that. And New Zealand is coming from this year 4 straight wins, right? Could be. I don't know. I'm actually finding this interesting.
Yeah.
They pretty much average the same amount of points. Granted, South Africa really raised their average in the last game, but
yeah. I mean, that was the outlier, right? I think when you got 52, they basically scored 52, and it kind of upped their average a little bit. I think the key thing between these two games, like the game that New Zealand played, that the two teams played, New Zealand won, right? So I think that's kind of the key one. But on average, when these two teams play other teams, they kind of, they're scoring the same amount of tries, kind of on average, just about the same amount of tries. So even though we would look at, just how the winning models for each team, how each team wins, but I think when they tend to break teams, and they tend to break defenses, even though the methodology might be different, but then they're basically powerful ball carriers compared to the opponents. But the one thing, like you said, which is important, is South Africa doesn't seem, especially over the last few games, they don't seem to be converting their tries, right? So that's and I think a lot has been made out of that because, Mani Libbok has, missed a few over the last weekend. He also missed a few against Argentina. That game was now a lot closer than it should have. But I think, coming really from a fan, it's not really something that's cause for alarm all that much, right? I think Mani Libbok is a great kicker, in field especially, right? He's made, I think when it comes to conversions, he can correct certain things, right? So I think he can correct it. He's a really good player, he's a really good kicker. And I think it's really good if you're going to fail before the World Cup in warm-up games. I think the other Argentina game was also a warm-up game. If you're going to fail in those games, that's perfectly fine. As long as you make those corrections, I think he's good enough to make those corrections. So I don't think it's really cause for that much alarm. But hopefully,
Yeah, but I'll say, looking at this 3 out of 5, so that puts it in the 60% conversion rate.
I think 60% would be for New Zealand, and then 50% for South Africa.
Yeah. Right. So it's 60% for New Zealand, 50% for South Africa.
Yeah.
In such a game with New Zealand versus South Africa, obviously they can afford to miss. Quite honestly, they could afford to miss all of their conversions against Wales, but then against New Zealand,
right? He has to make. So right, obviously, when I say that, it's like when I say hopefully you're correct. I mean, hopefully, because when you get to Ireland, when you're playing Ireland, when you're playing Scotland in those group stage games, you have to make those kicks. So, I'm saying I'm not really worried about it because I'm hoping and I expect that he'll make those corrections during those games. So hopefully, because it's going to be more critical when you're playing against Ireland, when you're playing against Scotland to make your conversions. So I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, exactly. And those games will have more pressure. So
Absolutely.
if he is struggling now, I personally would be concerned. But anyway,
Yeah.
Depending on how many opportunities they get to convert against New Zealand, I think that's when we really get to see really get to see if there's been any progress.
Definitely, yeah.
Right. Okay. So now looking at the winning model.
All right.
Right. This just compares. This is the winning model for New Zealand. So the way this works is when New Zealand wins, which are their important KPIs, right? They may or may not be the same as the ones for South Africa, right? If we just look at here, and their line outs, scrums, line breaks, possession, passes, and defenders beaten, right? So looking at their average for this year. New Zealand is averaging 90% line out success, but their last game 88% scrum success, 8 line breaks, 54% possession, 199 passes, and 30 defenders beaten. Right, these are very high averages. Right, and these are the KPIs that the model picked out are really important for New Zealand. Yeah. Right. So, Kubi, what does tell us about their strategy and just generally how they play?
I think the thing is, when you look at this, you're thinking, okay, because generally, I think there's a bit of a misconception around All Blacks rugby, even in history. The fact that they win because they break their line. So even though yes, in our KPIs, we're seeing that line breaks, they win when they break their line, definitely, right? Yeah. So that's part of New Zealand identity. But the one thing that you'll notice with this is line out success and scrum success is one of the things that's popping up, right? And that's so if you compare now the way that they're performing now against the Springboks, even their last game against the Springboks last year at Eden Park, versus the games that they lost. So they lost to the Springboks again before that, and then they lost 2 games against Ireland in New Zealand last year. They didn't get those things right? So their line out, their set piece was basically terrible. Their mall defense was terrible. I think that's where it starts, right? It always starts in your set piece, your line out success, your scrum success. Those two, as long as you don't get those two correct, and also other set piece things. But the other things that we're looking at, like line breaks and possession, all these things stem from winning your line outs and your scrum. So foundational. So what this tells me is they have to win the foundational battle, and then everything else is going to come off that.
Okay. Yeah. No, I definitely agree. And I guess against South Africa, before we even get into the model, how do you think South Africa could possibly neutralize New Zealand?
Well, it's a bit tricky because the thing is, I don't know if they weren't prepared the last game, because the All Blacks just came out hot. They were a lot more physical than we've seen them in the last few games against the Springboks. And but the Springboks solution has never changed over the last few decades. Really, it's always just more. The more they go to their more, even though the All Blacks more right now is more defense is looking really good, right? But I think physically, the physicality part of things, they have to win the battle up front. It goes without saying when it comes to Springboks, really, but I think that's where there's going to be quite a massive battle. This is why off camera, I know we were talking about how I was basically expressing how worried I am about the All Blacks and Springboks, like injuries wise, because I think those two teams. The upfront battle is basically going to be intense because both teams know they have to win there first if they want to win the game. So that's what I think.
Yeah, and again, South Africa's not really in a position where we can lose players. I mean, we just and they just got Sio Kolisi back. So, obviously, everyone's minutes are being managed, but there's a game where I don't think any team will hold back.
Yeah.
So, let's just hope that there are no injuries.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but now looking at the winning model for South Africa, right? The KPIs picked up line breaks, offloads. Right, so eight line breaks on average, which I think is the same for New Zealand. Yeah, 6 offloads. Obviously, the last game, all of the other KPIs are higher because it was a blowout. 23 defenders beaten on average, 96% ruck success, which is quite high. Scrum success 88%, which is the same as New Zealand's for this year, and 23 kicks, right? So obviously they play a bit of a kicking game.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of these are actually quite comparable to, at least with the KPIs they have in common, are quite comparable to New Zealand.
100%.
Yeah. But yeah, so what are your thoughts on
I think like you said, they base the KPIs exactly the same. Well, not exactly the same, but they round about the same. Like defenders beat it, right? I think even though the numbers are the same, I think it's just methodology that's different. So, for example, when New Zealand, they like to attack the space a little bit more than South Africa does. South Africa, for them to beat defenders, they're looking, it's more front on. It's a little bit more physical. When New Zealand is a little bit more smarter, attack the space as opposed to attacking the man.
Yeah.
So I think the end goal for these two teams is exactly the same, right? Where I like us highlighting ruck success. I think it's the same for New Zealand, even though it's not one of the KPIs that we highlighted for them. But I think clearing your ball at the ruck, getting that clean ball from the ruck, and providing those ball carriers that nice ball from the ruck in good speed. That's obviously one of the factors. And once again it comes back to foundational stuff, cleaning rucks, getting good ball off the scrum, and then once you get that, the opposition team is likely on the back foot. Now you can go over the advantage line and so on and so forth. So I think even though they're the same, I think the end goal for the teams is the same. It's just how they approach, how they get to these APIs, how they get to these numbers is a little bit different. So that's why I think it's a bit interesting when these two guys come together. So I'm really excited to see how this plays out. Like it's really cool. It's gonna be a really nice matchup.
Yeah, definitely. Right. And I mean, both teams have released their it's just South Africa that's released their squad.
Yeah.
So you're in a position to possibly make a prediction. Right.
Yeah, the thing is, right. But I think we listen. Take whatever I say with a pinch of salt here, because So at the time we record, so by the time the video comes out, I think both teams are going to be out, possibly. So the Springboks have gone. The forward pack is the same. I think it's the forward pack that you'd expect to play against. Maybe when they face Scotland in their first game in the World Cup. So I think the forward pack is exactly the same, but they've changed the backline a little bit just to see, okay, we know what we're going to get from Dialende, but they're now playing Esterhazy, which I think, rightfully so. I think he does deserve some minutes. They're putting Kalen Moody at 13 because Amma's injured. They know what they can get from Crewe at a really good game against Wales. So now, let's see if we can get who else can deliver something at 13. So I think there's a little bit of experimental stuff going on there, but I think because the forward pack is the same, they know we need to win this battle up front. So let's, I think the platform is going to be really good. I think I saw a report, I can't really, because I saw it in passing, that New Zealand is also not going to back down. Not back down. They're not going to back down, but I think they're going to go all out, field their best team. If that's the case, I do think New Zealand can take this because you've got an inexperienced guy at 13. In my opinion, 13 is the most important position defensively. Facing Rico Ioane, I do think the All Blacks backline has been firing. Both forward packs have been really good, but I think they can cancel each other out. So I think if New Zealand field their whole backline, their first backline with Mo'unga, Bowden Barrett, Jody Barrett, Rico Ioane, and so on, I do think that they can, get one over an experimental backline for the Springboks. So because of that, I do predict that the All Blacks can win this, but just by a bit.
Okay. Well, let's hope you're...
Yeah, I don't want to be apologizing next week again. I mean, come on.
It's just a prediction.
Yeah, just a prediction, yeah.
Right. This is when you disclaimer, this is not financial advice or betting advice.
Don't watch this and then go to your nearest casino, like your betting apps. I'm not the person to be listening to when it comes to these things.
No, okay, cool. Well, today I don't have predictions for you, so I'm leaving you on the chopping block alone. Right? Yeah, but I do also think I mean this game is one of those that's nearly impossible to predict. Right? Like they're so equally matched. But and thankfully no one really has a home advantage. Right? So really it could go either way.
Yeah.
And we'll see. Wait, they're playing this in England, yeah?
Playing at Twickenham, yes, England.
Okay. Yeah. Then no one has a home advantage. It's sold out.
Right.
Yeah, so I'll be watching it as, you know, this time I'll try to watch it as a neutral, right? and then but as a neutral, this one of those games to really enjoy.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Yeah, and all the analysis you've seen is powered by AdStat Marketplace, the best marketplace to get your digital memorabilia directly from teams, athletes, and brands. If you're a sports fan or an athlete, visit AdStatMarketplace.io and start creating and sharing memories. Link in the description.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, so another week down. We're getting closer to the World Cup. I think this is fantastic. This is exciting. So so we're just going to close it right here. And as usual, thank you so much to our audience for for watching. Thank you for going on this journey with us. And as always, just if you could just leave a like, comment on anything that you think might be useful for us, and any more predictions and anything useful that you think you might want to put down there. And also subscribe to the channel. That would be really helpful for us. Yes. So that is us for this week. Actually, do you want to say something before we head out?
No. Again, thanks for the support. We weren't expecting this much support in the beginning,
Absolutely.
and really thankful for it. But yeah, have a good week. Let's enjoy the rugby, and we'll see you next week.
See you guys next week. All right.
Cheers.
Cheers.
AdStat Experience.
Lost the rhythm there.